What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jonathan with the Rideshare panel, and today I'm doing an awesome video to explain the differences between Lyft and Uber. I'm going to look at everything from the history of these companies to driver pay, driver experience, and the future with self-driving vehicles and their IPOs coming up in 2019. So make sure you stick around for the full video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do that down below. If you decide at any point that you feel like signing up for one of these companies to drive, you can use my link down there in the bio as well and get yourself a sign-up bonus. Make sure you do that. And make sure you stick around for the full video because there's some stuff in here you might not have heard about. Alright, let's head over to the chalkboard so that we can learn a little bit more about these companies. So Lyft started off as Zimride back in 2007. It was founded by Logan Green and John Zimmer. These two guys have grown the company tremendously. It's now in 2 countries and over 600 cities, most of those obviously in the US. But they've had some big partnerships with GM and Diddy County. Diddy County is interesting because it helps them to expand globally, potentially further in the future. And GM, we'll talk about that more going forward, but there's an interesting tech spin there that's going to help boost Lyft into the self-driving vehicle market. Uber started off as UberCab back in 2009. It was founded by Garrett Camp and Travis Kalanick. The interesting thing about Garrett Camp is that he was originally the founder of StumbleUpon before getting into Uber. And this company has grown a significant amount in the last few years, quite a bit bigger than Lyft is. It's now in 65 plus countries and over 900 cities. And they've had some interesting partnerships along the way. Google Ventures, to name one, of just the many big names that are behind this company. Now let's take a look at the important stuff. How much do drivers make driving for Uber and Lyft? Well, let's start with Uber. Uber takes a 25% commission out of drivers' pay. They also take between a $1 to $3 booking fee for each ride that you're taking. Now, the amount that you're making depends on a lot more than just straight up fees because supply and demand comes into play here, and Uber controls more of the market. So a higher demand means more rides with Uber and generally higher pay per hour. It also means that surge pricing is more likely, so you're more likely to get a boost during peak hours with Uber. For Lyft drivers, the amount that you're making is a little bit harder to decipher. So they have a range between 20 to 25% commissions, and this isn't really that clear. Back in the old days, it was a cut and dry 20% commissions, and then they raised it to 25% for new drivers, while old drivers were grandfathered into 20%. Nowadays, it depends on what city you drive in, and that service fee is going to kind of fluctuate depending on your region. One thing that we do know for sure is that the booking fee is non-existent with Lyft, so it makes you think that you're going to be making a little bit more money. But when supply and demand comes into play, you have generally fewer riders on the Lyft platform. That means less rides per hour and lower hourly earnings. It also means less surge pricing. Let's take a brief look at the technology and the differences between Lyft and Uber. So we're going to take a look at the 2 most important factors that I consider with tech and the future of these companies. And those are automated vehicles and IPOs. So Uber had taken a very aggressive stance to self-driving vehicles. They put out a ton of vehicles on the road, and this aggressive approach led to an accident last March that killed an innocent bystander. They ultimately ended up pulling all of their self-driving vehicles and are planning to relaunch sometime in 2019. Lyft, on the other hand, took a slower approach. As the smaller company, they usually get to things a little bit later than Uber does. And they had given a total of over 5,000 self-driving rides on the Lyft app. So both of these companies want to IPO in 2019. But there's some other factors kind of outside of their control that influence that. And one of those being the government shutdown. If the government shutdown were to continue, then it would force these companies to push back their IPOs. But it looks like that's cleared up and they're going to be able to continue with their IPO plans for 2019. Whether or not investing in these companies is a good idea, well, that's up to you. Personally, I'm skeptical. It looks like both of these companies aren't really profitable and they're kind of just playing the game to make it to the IPO and have self-driving vehicles at some point. But they're in competition with companies like Tesla and Google when it comes to self-driving cars. And both of those companies are far better positioned to compete in the self-driving market. So while IPOs and stock prices don't always believe the way you want them to, and there's quite a lot of room for speculation, I'm going to hold my ground and be skeptical. I don't know what's going to happen, but whether or not you decide to invest is up to you.